Good evening and happy Friday. This is Shayna from the Trade Exchange. I want to talk to you what's gone on this week because we've had quite a bit. Our GDP revision numbers came out. The FOMC minutes from the May 3rd meeting came out on Wednesday. And our President Donald Trump, he was overseas for the first foreign affair meetings for the NATO meetings and the G7 summit. So a lot going on this week. Some of it's had an effect on the markets. And taking a look at the indices, we can see what's gone on. So a little bit of improvement in our markets this week. We can see the Dow closed out 21,080, so that's actually up 1.3% for the week. S&Ps are up 1.4% for the week. They closed out 24.15. And NASDAQ is up 2.1% for the week. It closed out 62.10. Our VIX is back in the 9 handle. We saw this 2 weeks ago. We're seeing it again this week. And this is not something we've seen for a long time. And now this is the second week this month that we've seen it. So very little volatility going on in the markets right now, as you can see with this 9 handle once again. Taking a look at our 10-year yield is down. We're closing out this week at 2.25. Why is our 10-year yield down? Well, on Wednesday, the FOMC minutes came out, and that was in regard to the May 3rd meeting. And although it still has a bit of a hawkish tone, not as hawkish as some traders had anticipated. So although we've had positive employment numbers, the third week of May we had 234,000 claims in employment, so that's phenomenal. However, for quarter one, we've had a struggle when it comes to retail, when it comes to the trade deficit, when it comes to wholesale inventories. But overall, the Fed says that the economy and inflation, everything looks to be on track. So although reducing the monetary policy does still seem appropriate, the tone of the minutes just simply wasn't as hawkish as some traders had initially anticipated they would be. Following the release of those minutes, we did see this drop in the treasuries, and we see this drop in the yield here. As you can see, again, it ticked down. It hasn't ticked back up yet, and we closed out the week at 2.25. When we take a look at our oil, we can see that oil has dropped as well. Oil dropped 2.2% this week. So why? Yesterday was the meeting with the OPEC meeting, with the OPEC and non-OPEC nations decided that they're going to extend the production cuts. And that was anticipated. The initial contract was that they would cut back 1.8 million barrels per day, and that was set to expire at the end of this June. Now, this new contract is actually going to push it to the end of the first quarter of 2018. However, a lot of people were hoping, and investors were hoping, that they were going to even deepen these production cuts, and these nations came together and they said they didn't think that was necessary. They were going to extend these cuts, but they weren't going to deepen them. Following the release of information that they weren't going to deepen these production cuts, we saw quite a drop in oil. It's down 2.2% this week. We're back below the $50 a barrel level, and we closed this week out at 49.87. Now, GDP revision numbers came out today. So GDP numbers came out. They have been revised. They're up 1.2% from the forecasted 0.9%. So it's even better. Last month we were at 0.7%. So positive GDP numbers came out. And we've seen a lot in the news with President Trump, our first foreign affair meetings. And how did they go? Well, he met with the NATO members on Wednesday. And it was all over the news of what went on there. He really wanted to push for other countries to spend more of their budget on their defense, as is agreed in the NATO alliance. And then he also had his G7 meeting. So we've seen a lot in the news of what's going on there. Again, we don't see a lot of it reacting with the volatility in the market, however. Next week, we do have our non-farm payroll numbers coming out. So we do have some more economic data coming out there that we're going to keep an eye on. It is going to be a long weekend. And most of all, we want to thank our veterans who are out there, because we all very much appreciate you and thank you for all you've done for all of us here in the United States. So I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day, and I hope everybody gets to spend their time with their loved ones. And for those who are overseas fighting in our military, we thank you. Have a great weekend and a happy Memorial Day. Bye-bye.